This is my 2025 ladder prediction. Now, the criteria we have to follow is every season for the past decade, 3 teams have gone from the top 8 to the bottom 10 and vice versa. And also 1 team from the bottom 10 has jumped into the top 4 the following season. So we have to go by that. Now, to make it interesting, I'm going to throw in a few dark horses, a few bold predictions, and I'm going to try and keep everything short and sharp so it's entertaining and the video doesn't go too long. So let's get into it. For my wooden spooners, I have Richmond now. Losing 6 of your key players through trades, free agency and retirement is going to hurt. But considering they're pretty much guaranteed to finish last place, they are probably the most exciting last place side in the history of AFL. Smiley and Lawler are going to be exciting to watch first year, and so are all the other guys. But I think, it's just another tanking season for Richmond. They're going to have North's first round pick, plus most likely pick 1 for 2025. So I think, they're going to be just an exciting young team to watch. Next, I have the Crows. Now, a bottom 4 finish in 2024. I think they have good players in Rankin, Dawson, Keys and Rochelle, but I think they're just going to be one of those teams that stays down the bottom of the ladder in 2025. Neil Bullen was definitely a good pickup, but I think they're just 1 or 2 good pieces away from contending for the finals again. At 16, I have the Saints. Now, they're a good young team that has shown signs in 2024, but I think they're going to be one of those teams that just drops off a little bit. They did win 6 of their last 8 games in 2024, but I think with the loss of Battle and the fact they only scored 100 points 5 times and 80 points or less 14 times in 2024, just tells me, they're not really there offensively. Ross Lyon is a defensive coach, but I think the loss of Battle is just going to be a bit too much, and they're going to drop off again in 2025. Next is Melbourne. Now, I think all the drama and off-field issues are taking a toll on the Ds. Petrarca and Oliver exploring their options in the off-season has, probably put a bad taste in the locker room. They only scored 100 points 4 times in 2024 and 70 or under 10 times. So I think, not enough firepower in the forward line other than Pickett and Fritsch. And, Gawn's obviously still good, but I think, they're just going to be another team that drops into the bottom 4 in 2025. The first team outside the bottom 4 I have is West Coast. Now, the young players looking all right in Reid and Waterman. They finished with 5 wins in 2024 and another 4 games lost by less than 14 points. So they're getting competitive once again. They got a few new recruits in Baker, Owies and Graham, which is going to definitely give them a boost, experience and skill-wise. And I think, they're going to be the first team outside the bottom 4 in 2025. Controversial one, but I think North Melbourne finished 13th. And the reason I have them finishing outside the bottom 4 is because they need to finish outside the bottom 4 to keep LDU. So once they lose LDU, they're going to be bottom 4 until 2030, let's be honest. They picked up a few nice recruits in the off-season. Darling, Parker, Daniels, which is going to bring experience. The young core, McKercher, Sheasels, Warlaw, Dersma, they're looking good. I reckon they'll not break out, but they'll improve noticeably in 2025. The new recruits, O'Sullivan and Whitlock, will be solid pieces, especially for the future. But I think, they have a real incentive not to finish bottom 4 this year. And if they do, I think that, honestly, they're going to fold at some point. At 12, I have the Bombers. Now, they started 2024 hot. They were, I think, second place after about 8 or 10 games. But, finished the season pretty poorly. They are probably the definition of mediocre. They're just in the middle of the pack. They're not bad enough to get a high pick, and they're not good enough to make finals yet. Isaac Kako was a good draft pick, but I think, they only scored 100 5 times in 2024 and 80 or less 10 times. So, unfortunately, they're missing the finals again in 2025. This is the bowl one, but I have the Giants missing the finals now. The main reason is because they did choke those 2 finals games. So who knows what impact that's going to have on the mentality going into next season. But I think, if their forward line isn't firing, they're a bit inconsistent and they're not going to win enough games. They scored 85 or less 14 times and only 108, which isn't necessarily that bad. But I think if you're going to push to be a flag contender, you need to be more consistent and score a lot more points. So I think if the Giants just fall into that category of one of those 3 teams that I have to take out of the 8, unfortunately. But if you told me they were making the 8 in 2025, I would say that's still a good tip. Another bold one, but I have the Dogs missing the 8. Now, they are the definition of inconsistency. They scored 100 points 9 times, but also scored 75 or less 9 times. They either look like a top 4 team or they look like a bottom 10 team. There's literally no in between. I think the losses of McRae and Daniels is not good for depth. Kennedy was a good pickup, but I think, outside the bond, take the bond out of this team, they're a bottom 4 side in my opinion. Other than a few of the young guys that look all right. But I think, they're just too inconsistent to make the finals again in 2025. Just missing the 8, I have the Power. Now, the main reason is they can't win important finals. Yes, they beat the Hawks in the semi, but they also just got blown out in their other two finals. I think Houston is going to be a bigger loss than people anticipate. He was obviously a two-time All-Australian, so he's definitely going to be a decent loss. And the fact that Marshall and Dixon aren't going to be there for 2025 is pretty big. Even though they aren't like really good players, their key forward depth is definitely going to be lacking now. They're pretty consistent. They beat the Swans by 100, but then lost to the Gold Coast and just beat Melbourne, just beat St Kilda. So I think, unfortunately, yes, they did finish second, but they're going to be one of those three teams that I have to swap out of the top 8, unfortunately. So, yeah, I put Adelaide at number 9. This is arguably the boldest prediction of the video, but at 8, I have Gold Coast making the finals for the first time. Now, year 2 of Dimmer, the pickups of Rioli and Noble, and the fact that their first 6 games of the season are all winnable, they have probably their best chance ever to make the finals outside the Ablett era. They're inconsistent, though. They beat Hawthorn, Collingwood and Geelong, but then lost to West Coast and North Melbourne last season. So, yeah, obviously only won 1 game away from home last year as well. But I think as long as they can get consistent and win a few games away from home, they have every chance this season to make the finals. Now, Carlton are easily the hardest team to predict going into 2025 because in 2024, it was Carlton and Sydney as the top 2 flag favourites. Then the injury bug hit and they finished 7th on the ladder, lost an elimination final. Now, Newman's now out for the season. Curnow and Walsh have had little niggles in the pre-season and have had interrupted pre-seasons now. Always and Kennedy getting traded is 50 goals worth of production and just good depth pieces in general. And I think, yeah, if they can stay healthy, they're a top 4 team. But if they're not healthy next season, they're going to miss the finals. I still have them at 7th just to even it out. But, yeah, definitely the hardest team to predict going into 2025. Next, I have Fremantle. They were 1 win off making the finals in 2024. They were a super competitive team. Unfortunately, they lost their last 4 games. But I think the additions of Bolton plus the young core of Brayshaw, Young and Sarong is just going to take it to the next level next season. They could potentially push for the top 4. There'd be a dark horse for the top 4. But I think, yeah, Freo are definitely going to make finals next season. Just missing the top 4, I have the Cats. Now, last season they finished top 4 with the preliminary final loss, but I think the additions of Bailey Smith, if he gets back to what he was at the Dogs, is going to be huge. Young players in Dempsey, DeConing and Holmes are going to be big going into next season, and I think, yeah, another just consistent season for the Cats. They could potentially make the top 4 and make a grand final if they're on the ball. You never know. Start off the top 4, have the Swans. Now, they were the best team last season up until grand final day. They have one of the best young cores of the game. Heaney, Goulden, Warner, Rowbottom, all an amazing young midfield. The new coach, Dean Cox, is hopefully going to fix a few issues going into next season. But, yeah, I don't think they can miss the finals and embarrass themselves. They need to go hard. They need to redeem themselves from 2 out of 3 years of just getting blown out in the grand final. So I think the Swans will still make top 4 in 2025. In third, I have Collingwood. A slow start to last season, combined with 2 draws, saw them missing the 8 by only percentage. They were competitive throughout the whole year. After round 2, they only lost 1 game by over 20 points, so they were still competitive the whole year. The recruits of Houston and Perryman are going to be huge for the midfield and half-back. Houston obviously being a 2-time All-Australian, which is absolutely massive. And, yeah, I could see them contending again in 2025. In second place, I have the Hawks. Now, after round 6, they were the best team in the comp, win and percentage-wise. They won 14 of their last 18 games, including finals, and 3 of those losses were by less than a kick. Their 2 new recruits in Battle and Barras are going to be huge. They just turned one of their biggest weaknesses into a strength. And with that, freeing up Scrimshaw and Sicily, who are 2 of the best interceptors in the game, is just going to be massive for their midfield and their backline. Their youth has another season of experience, and their new players from last season are now settled into the club. So, yeah, sky's the limit for the Hawks. They could potentially finish first and make a grand final appearance. But, yeah, who knows? They just got to stay consistent. I'll also be doing a deep dive video on the Hawks going to 2025, so keep a lookout for that on my channel. Now, the minor premiers, I have the reigning premiers of Brisbane. Now, the main reason I have them finishing first is because they missed so many players in the last season. McInerney missed the grand final. Coleman missed most of the season. Duday, McCarthy. They just drafted Levi Ashcroft, so yeah, they got a lot of players ready to come back in for next season. Yeah, they're almost unbeatable at home, and yeah, they're just a super consistent team. Yes, Danaher is going to be lost, but with players like Neil, Andrews, Cameron, Ashcroft, they're just an all-round outstanding side, and yeah, they can potentially go back-to-back, in my opinion.